The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, folks. This is Scott Zahn from 3P Sports. Welcome to the final summer webinar series with Rick Peterson and sponsored by 3P Sports. We have still quite a few people, the pace of folks coming in to the webinar, which is typically the case at the top of the hour as people wait for their logins to work. We are going to pretty much get started right now. A couple things I'd like to go over in terms of housekeeping. We'll touch on those in a second as well, but we're excited. This is a very exciting topic from our perspective, and we hope you enjoy it as well. As you recall, our topic is how to effectively read hitters and mix up your pitches. This is a webinar that will feature the coaching philosophies of Rick Peterson, Coach Rick Peterson, and the research from Dr. James Andrews in the American Sports Medicine Labs in Birmingham, Alabama. We think you'll find this to be a really compelling and interesting broadcast this evening. So tonight we have a unique opportunity to hear from one of the game's leading experts on pitching, Coach Rick Peterson, and Rick will share some of his baseball insights reflecting nearly 3 decades of baseball learning. Before I start, I'd like to cover a couple really simple and basic housekeeping topics. First of all, Rick's going to chat with us for about 10 to 15 minutes in terms of the topical content. And then afterwards, we're going to answer your questions for about 30 minutes or so, and you can type your questions in the lower right-hand side of the question bar. There's a couple that have come in already, or the menu bar on the right-hand side. I think it's pretty intuitive in terms of where they should be typed, but it's at the lower portion of the screen, I think, is the way it lays out for everybody. We're also recording this webinar, and I'll tell you that after every one of these, I get an email or a call or two from somebody who asks if we recorded it so they can listen to it and stop it and start it and kind of replay the nuggets that come out of it. And you'll be able to get to that, and we'll send you a link because we have your email addresses. We'll send you a link afterwards with the web page where that recording is located. So I'd like to thank everyone who helped make this particular event possible. You know, we've had just about 2,000 people who checked out this webinar. And so, again, it's an interesting indication of just how important healthy pitching is to everybody in North America, which is pretty much our primary audience. The webinar tonight is brought to you by 3P Sports, and 3P Sports is a mission-based organization dedicated to healthy pitching at all levels. And so I'd like to share or spend a couple minutes with you and just kind of go through the 3P program and give you some insight as to what that's all about. And you should see the slides changing right now on your screen. So we have a digital sports training program, and the foundation of what we do is centered around a 3P member portal. All our data is in a private portal that all of our members have access to, which they share with their parents and their coaches and people who are interested in their baseball training process. Everything focuses or centers around the notion of a biomechanical pitching analysis. And we also have a conditioning program, a drills program, and most importantly, a performance behavior coaching program as part of the overall 3P offering. The way this works is really straightforward for those who aren't members, and we have a number of members who are on the call right now. Our clients or our members video their delivery based on our selected or our selected positions for the video camera. They very simply upload the file to the 3P website. We download that video, and we conduct a biomechanical pitching analysis comparing your angular and distant measurements to the work done by Dr. Andrews in the ASMI labs in Birmingham, Alabama, and we populate that portal and show you the exact results. And what you're seeing on your screen in front of you are an example of 4 of those different results. You see the trunk tilted ball release. You see the upper trunk position on the lower right, and 2 others, the arm position, the foot contact, and the lead foot placement as well. And these are 4 of the measurements that each of our pitchers have in their 3P portals. So before I hand things over to Rick, let me share a brief introduction. I've known Rick for a number of years now, and he is clearly one of the most forward-thinking pitching coaches in Major League Baseball. Rick's been with the White Sox, with the A's, with the Mets, and with the Brewers most recently. He's respected throughout every level of baseball as an expert on the pitch delivery and how to keep healthy pitchers healthy while maximizing their performance. Rick has coached some of the game's greatest pitchers, including Barry Zito, Johan Santana, Timmy Hudson, Pedro Martinez, and, of course, Trevor Hoffman, plus numerous others. His life's passion has been focused around helping amateur pitchers, coaches, and parents like himself by sharing his knowledge and his experiences, the experiences he's gained on the big league field. He's truly a lifetime student of the game, having grown up in Pittsburgh while his dad was the GM of the Pirates and during the Pirates' golden years in the 1970s. Rick has played and coached at every level, and although he's worked with many of the top players from the modern era, he still gravitates back to helping amateurs develop their skills by coaching the processes associated with healthy and successful pitching. The insights Rick is providing tonight are culled from years of coaching, and they're specifically compiled for this call with this audience. I think you'll find the content insightful, refreshing, and absolutely interesting. I know I did as we went through and prepared for the conversation this evening. I'd like to turn it over to Rick. Rick, the audience is all yours.
Well, thank you so much, Scott. This is so exciting, and I welcome everybody to our summer webinar series. And I want to congratulate everybody for their commitment to their own personal excellence. So because of time constraints, I want to get right into the topic. There's a lot of information that we're going to go through today. And hopefully this is going to be something that's going to be so valuable, insightful for you to optimize your performance. I do want to qualify this, that this topic really has nothing to do about biomechanics or necessarily about deliveries. This is about how, when you take the mound, how do you optimize your performance to basically get this hitter out, recognize what your strengths are, what this hitter's trying to do, his style of hitting, how you attack that hitter, and basically, and we say this, and I want to qualify one thing before I move forward. This topic and what you're going to hear tonight is very similar, scaled more to the amateur market, but very similar to if we put you inside a meeting that I have with our major league pitching staff and the things that we're going to go over today. So you're getting the insight, the same kind of information that is presented to our major league pitchers. So basically, when you take the mound, we start with an affirmation. Before this hitter steps into the box, we can look at that hitter and make an affirmation, meaning an I am phrase, and say, I am getting you out. I'm sending you back to the dugout because this is what I'm going to do. So number one, it's absolutely imperative that we pitch to our strengths, recognizing what your strengths are as a pitcher and pitching to that strength. So even at the major league level and at the amateur level even more so, but we take an approach that 90% of how we tackle a hitter is based on our strength, not on necessarily on the hitter's weakness, based on our strength. At the amateur level, it may be, or maybe even close to 100%. So it's very critical to know your strength. What type of pitcher are you? Are you a sinker ball pitcher? Are you a four-seam fastball pitcher? Are you a big overhand curveball, change-up pitcher, fastball, sinker, slider? Know your strengths. It's critical. So, for example, I'm going to get into two basic elements, two basic factors here. Number one, what are the basic elements of pitching? And then we're talking about getting a hitter out. There's four basic elements, and in this order of priority. Number one, location. Location, location, location. The ability to hit the glove, that's number one. Number two, change of speeds. The ability to change speeds on your pitches, whether it's a changeup off your fastball or your breaking ball pitches. Number three is movement, especially having the ability to have vertical or vertical movement, meaning down in the zone with a lot of depth on your off-speed pitches or pitches that you can ride up in the zone. And lastly, velocity, whatever your normal velocity is. Location, change of speeds, movement, velocity. To be able to locate, change speeds with rate movement is what allows you to optimize your performance. Now, there's three variables of pitching, meaning this. There's three ways that we can attack a hitter. We can attack a hitter by going in and out, the outside corner, the inside corner, down and away, down and in, up and away, up and in. We can go up and down, number two. We can go to the bottom of the strike zone, below the strike zone, or we can go to the top of the strike zone and above the strike zone. But pitches that go over the plate, up and down, or slightly just off the plate. And number three, the ability to take a hitter back and forth by changing speed. Getting a hitter out in front or getting a hitter late because we threw fastballs in, or out in front because of off-speed pitches. So basically, we want to speed a hitter up or slow a hitter down. So I'm going to mention a couple pitchers here and talk about their strengths so you can recognize this. Tim Hudson, for example, he's a low ball pitcher. He does not work up and down. He works in and out and back and forth primarily. Roy Halladay, he's primarily an in and out, back and forth, change speeds pitcher. He doesn't work up and down that frequently. Cliff Lee, on the other hand, he's a high ball pitcher. Cliff Lee does not really pound the bottom of the strike zone. He works more in and out and up and down and a little bit of back and forth, but not so much down. Tommy Glavine, dominant low ball pitcher. Tommy didn't work up. He didn't elevate up in the zone very much. He worked in and out and more back and forth. Pedro Martinez, he was a true master of all three. So when you look at good pitching, Tim Lincecum, he's pretty much a master of all three. He'll elevate a lot of fastballs. He works in and out, and he throws a lot of off-speed pitches below the strike zone. So basically, hitting is timing. Hitters are all about timing. They're working off the pitchers. They're almost a mirror to the pitcher. The pitcher's proactive, the hitter's reactive. Our pitching is to disrupt timing. We want to get hitters out in front, or we want to beat hitters and have them be late. So if a hitter hits the ball on the sweet spot of the bat, meaning on the head of the bat, we want to make sure if he's on time and hits it on the head of the bat, he's going to hit that ball a long way, and that ball is going to be hit very, very hard. If the hitter's out in front on his front foot, meaning we got his timing off and he was early, and he hits the ball in the center of the bat, that ball is not going to go very far. Or if we beat the hitter, we beat his timing, like say with a fastball in, he's late. Even if he hits it on the head of the bat, it's not going to go very far. We beat the hitter. And primarily, we want to get the hitter to hit the ball on the end of the bat or the handle. But if he hits it on the sweet spot, we want him to either be late or early by getting him, by throwing off his timing, getting him on his front foot or getting him late on his back foot. Now, as we attack a hitter, we want to be able to, number one, get ahead of the count. Getting ahead of the count is critical. Getting ahead of the count is not just first pitch strikes. Getting ahead of the count is making sure that 2 of the first 3 pitches are strikes. And if we get ahead of the count, 0-2, 1-2, now we get into put-away situations. Put-away situations meaning we expand the strike zone. Expand the strike zone is our put-away pitches. So when you look at the big strikeout pitchers, the Cliff Lee had big strikeout the other day, Lincecum big strikeout, Roy Halladay big strikeout type pitchers, they expand the zone below the strike zone or above the strike zone. So the overall pitching philosophy to maximize and pitch your strength is that this at-bat is over in 3 pitches or less. In the first 3 pitches, we want this batter to put the ball in play weakly by being out in front or being late, or at the bottom of the strike zone being a ground ball, or if he's still at the home plate and he's still hitting, we have a 2-strike count. So one of the most big questions that's asked about how do we attack a hitter when you look at counts, what is the most critical count of all when we attack a hitter? It's not first pitch strike. First pitch strike is not the most critical count. The average batting average in the big leagues on all first pitches put in play is 341. It's incredibly high. If you get ahead 0-1 at the big league level, all 0-1 counts put in play is just over 325. So a first pitch strike does not put us in advantage. A 2-strike count, now all 2-strike counts, 0-2, 1-2, 2-2, 3-2, every one of those counts are below 200 with the exception of 3-2, which is about 210. The most critical count, and if you get anything out of this webinar tonight, and if you lead with this, you'll get something out of this that's big time. The most critical count is the 1-1 count. And our mantra to our pitchers is that at the 1-1 count, we can call timeout and walk towards the hitter and say, I am throwing you a strike. You better swing. And at the big league level, if you swing, your batting average is 325. If you take this pitch, foul it off, or swing and miss, and it's a strike, and you go to 1-2, and we start to count either 0-2 or 1-2, your chance of getting on base is 220. If you're a big strikeout pitcher like Halladay and Lincecum, your chance of getting on base is about 140. If the 1-1 pitch is a ball, the on-base percentage at the big league level, once the count starts 2 balls and no strikes or 2 balls and 1 strike, and the 1-1 pitch is a ball, the on-base percentage is 480. When we've kept this data throughout an entire organization, at the rookie ball level, if the 1-1 pitch is a ball, this is first-year pitching at the major league or at the amateur level in the minor leagues. If the 1-1 pitch is a ball, the on-base percentage is 550. Our experience when data has never been collected, stats have never been collected. At the little league level, my guess the on-base percentage might be 700. High school, it might be somewhere about 600. The lower the level, the higher it gets at the high end, and the lower it gets at the low end. The swing percentages at the major league level, meaning how often does a hitter swing at a 2-strike count? 0-2, 1-2, 2-2, 3-2. It's an average of about 60% they'll swing. At the 3-2 count, it's almost 74% swing percentage. So at the 2-strike count, hitters are going to swing. They're trying to protect the plate. So it's very critical that we get 3 pitches or less and the at-bat is over. We pitch to contact. That's what pitching to contact truly means. Or we have a 2-strike count. Now we can go to putaways. It's very critical that we understand that the average batting average at the big league level and the amateur level, it keeps going down even further. The average batting average at every ball put in play at the bottom of the strike zone is 220. 220 is the average batting average at the bottom of the strike zone. That's why it's critical that we pitch with what we call downward angle, that our pitches have downward angle at the bottom of the strike zone. That's where the uphill drills that we do, pitching uphill, when we do drills and doing stride drills uphill, helps us create greater angle. The bottom line for good pitching, the dominant pitchers, is ground balls, ground ball fly ball ratio. The more ground balls you get, and swings and misses in the strike zone, and then your putaways expanding the strike zones. Now let's talk about hitting styles and hitting profiles. So let's start with number 1 point. Number 1, we want to find out, is this hitter going to be aggressive? Is he aggressive? Now, at the amateur level, you're going to face many hitters that we don't know anything about. So we're not really sure, so it's very critical that we open up that count at the bottom of the strike zone. Is he an aggressive hitter? Is he a hitter that very seldom walks? Is he a hitter that gets a lot of walks, that will take a walk? If it's a hitter that's aggressive and very seldom walks, then he's going to chase. He'll chase pitches out of the strike zone. We don't need to throw him strikes. Hitters that will not walk, we don't need to throw them strikes. We can go to put-away pitches immediately. So at the amateur level, it's very critical because everybody's keeping score. They have a scorebook. But also, someone should chart how often do these hitters swing at the first pitch. So, for example, you can say you're pitching a tournament game, and even in Little League or traveling type baseball, Babe Ruth, track in the first time through the lineup how many hitters actually swing at the first pitch. There's a lot of coaches, for example, that may tell their hitters, listen, we're going to work the count. We're not going to swing at the first pitch. We're going to take every first pitch, and be able to realize that after the first time through the lineup that you may have, out of 9 hitters, maybe no one swung at the first pitch. So we know the second time through the lineup, we can get into the count. We can get into the count and be a little bit more conservative, have the catcher maybe sit more middle, so we can just pound the strike zone, get into the count, and then we can start to expand a little bit. Now let's get into approaches to certain hitters. Hitters that have low batting averages, poor hitters. Hitters that have low batting averages. The reason they're poor hitters that have low batting averages, they are unable to hit the pitch down and away. They just cannot hit the pitch down and away. That's why they're poor hitters. And hitters with low batting averages, if you know hitters' batting averages, you can just pound the strike zone down and away, down and away, down and away with your fastball and your off-speed pitches. And the only time that we're coming inside is just to show inside off the plate, just to keep making down and away effective. The great hitters and the good hitters, the reason they're good hitters and great hitters, or the hitters that are extremely hot, hitters that are very streaky, and they say, geez, this guy's on fire right now. He's off the charts on fire. The reason they are is because they use the whole field. They hit the ball to the big part of the ballpark. If you get a chance to go to a big league game and you get there early and watch batting practice, watch the good hitters to the great hitters in batting practice. If you're a right-hand hitter, what they do, the first couple rounds of batting practice, they keep hitting line drives and drive balls over the second baseman's head. The left-hand hitters, they'll drive the ball over the shortstop's head and try to hit line drives over the shortstop's head. That's why they're great hitters. So it's critical, the great hitters to the good hitters, you have got to pitch inside for strikes with your fastball. You have to be able to pound them in because they look out over the plate. That's why they're so good. So if a hitter's on fire in the big leagues, you can come into that series and walk up to him and say, we will make you pull. You never see a hitter on fire, a right-hand hitter, for example, that keeps hooking balls down the left field line. There's no way. You can't stay hot like that. It's just impossible. Now we start to look at the hitter's setup. The hitter steps in the batter's box. So what we start with is the bottom half of the body. We take a look at the stance. Are they open? Are they even? Are they closed? But how they start is not most critical. Where their foot ends up is where most critical. Do they land open? Do they land even? Or do they land closed? Most hitters in the big leagues today will start slightly open to even, and they end up, the good hitters end up even to slightly closed. If a hitter ends up open with his upper body, in general terms, 90% of the time you can pound him down and away. They just can't get to that pitch. The only hitter that really comes to my mind that lands open, that's a good hitter, that's been a good hitter over his years, is Bobby Abreu. Bobby starts even, he ends up open, but he dives with his upper half. He dives out over the plate with his upper half. His upper half stays closed. Bobby Abreu, a true down and away, he can't get to. If it gets mid-thigh level away, he can get to that because he's open. He just can't get to a true down and away. I'm talking about knees. The hitters that are even and land closed, those are the better hitters. Then you look at where they're positioned in the box. Are they in the middle of the box? Are they away from the plate? Or are they very close to the plate? Where they are positioned in the box is also going to dictate. So you take Batista with Toronto. He's right on the plate. He's right on the plate, and he's about even, slightly open. So he basically has taken down and away, or the outer half of the plate, and made that almost middle for him. So if you can't pound the fastball inside the Batista, you got no shot to get him out. The premier hitters in the game that you face at the amateur level, at the big league level, if you can't locate a fastball in, you have no shot whatsoever. You take a guy like Adrian Gonzalez, for example. He's on the outer third of the box. He's not close to the plate. He's not even middle. And he has a high leg kick. He starts open, but he dives out big time. That's why Adrian Gonzalez is so good. He has a hole down and in. It's not very big. It's not very big, but he has a hole down and in. You watch Adrian Gonzalez, he'll take a pitch on the outer corner of the plate or the outer third of the plate, and he'll drive it over the Green Monster in Fenway Park. That's why he's one of the premier hitters. A-Rod does the same thing. If you saw the Yankee-Red Sox game last night, Big Poppy Ortiz hit a home run on the 3-2 pitch on a fastball that was on the outside corner and about knees, but they never came inside. They kept going away, away, away. He's diving out over the plate, and he drove that pitch. Then you take a look at the leg kick. If you have a high leg kick, Adrian Gonzalez, high leg kick. A-Rod, high leg kick. Big Poppy, high leg kick. The high leg kick are very vulnerable to a lot of change of speeds and a pitch down and in particular. Because with that high leg kick, they just can't cover where their leg basically came down. If you look at film of big league hitters during the course of a game, the hitter gets his foot off the ground before the ball comes out of the pitcher's hand. So you hear hitting coaches and analysts always talk about the fact that He can't get his foot down. He's not getting his foot down in time. Why is he not getting his foot down in time? He's not getting it up in time. He's not starting early enough. So if we keep guys with high leg kicks, you want to keep making a lot of change of speeds. Avoid same pitch, same speed, same location. Like that's what happened to Poppy. They went same location, down and away, down and away, down and away last night. He never got any respect in. Then you take a look at in the front foot the double tappers, the guys who tap their foot twice. Very seldom do you see that at the amateur level. But Derek Jeter is a prime example of a double tapper. And that's why Derek Jeter, he's very vulnerable, again, to down and in. He's got a big weakness down and in because with that double tap and the way he stays inside the ball, he really can't get to a true down and in. But you see him get a lot of base hits to right field, down the right field line. He'll get jammed and hit a bloop down the right field line, literally over the first baseman's head. Not even drive the ball, but get jammed. And people go, God, that's lucky. That's not lucky. It's the hitting style that he got beat, but he's able to be strong enough to get jammed and still with his swing plane get the ball over the infielder's head. Then you get the hitters with no leg kick at all. Their front foot's very quiet. They get it off the ground just very low. They have very small stride. Those guys, especially if they're strong, they're the most difficult guys to get out because they don't have the big timing issues. It's more difficult to throw off their timing. That's the Albert Pujols, the Grandersons, the Robbie Canoes. You watch their front foot. It's very quiet. It stays on the ground low, and they stay even to slightly close, but their timing doesn't get thrown off very much. But it's also very critical to move their feet. Pitches that get down and in, it throws off their balance. Down and in off the plate where they literally have to move their feet. You move their foundation. So recognizing hitting styles, whether a hitter's in a swing mode, understanding the throw-off hitter's timing is critical. So in summary, we pitch to our strengths. We can go in and out, up and down, and back and forth. We want this at-bat over in 3 pitches or less. And if the batter's still at home plate, we have a 2-strike count. And all 2-strike counts, batting average is below 200, with the exception of 3-2, which is about 210. Pitch to your strengths, know your strengths, and send that hitter back to the dugout. And now we'll open it up to questions.
Okay, Rick, excellent indeed. So let me just remind everybody that the question panel is in the lower right-hand side. We've got a couple queued up. I'm going to take you through we promise you a special offer from 3P Sports. We'll hit that, and as we're doing that, if you want to add or provide some questions for Coach Peterson, this would be the ideal time to do so. So when we do these webinars, we always want to make it worth your while. I think there's a lot of great content here as well, but we have a very active membership program with thousands of pitchers around the country who use this program. And tonight, for the end of the summer series, the program we put together for everybody here is what we're calling the 3P Sports Double Play. So I mentioned at the outset that the foundation of our offering is all predicated around the 3P biomechanical pitching analysis. And the majority of our members come on board and they get a single analysis in a portal and they get their drills, etc. Tonight the program is a little unique. We're calling it the Double Play because it's 2 biomechanical pitching analysis, one to use to start the program and one to use in the future anytime you want. This allows you to get a baseline in terms of where you are when you start and where you are when you submit the second video. And we assure you, if you follow the program, you will see some changes relative to your delivery and the results from the 3P biomechanical pitching analysis. So when we do these programs, if you went to our website right now and took a look, you would see that the biomechanical pitching analysis standalone is a $229 product from us. We promoted it at different price points, but today it's going to be out there for $199 for 2 motion analyses. You can find it on our website if you just go into 3P Sports /Double Play, and the offer will expire 7 days from today. But again, it's a $199 program. You'll see it on the website when you go in there, $199 for 2 biomechanical pitching analyses, and that offer, which is a savings of over $100, will expire 7 days from today. So The great news is that while I was chatting, you were all typing, and there are questions galore here. And Rick, believe it or not, we had one gentleman who was on the webinar when I got on at probably quarter of, and he asked a question that is not aligned with the topic, but I told him we would address it as one of the first ones out of the chute. So apparently, we've got someone out there who has a sore throat and shoulder. I'm going to assume it's a sore throat and shoulder. And he's asking if there's any specific exercises that you often recommend that pitchers look into when their shoulder is sore, anything that you recommend they do to kind of alleviate that pain beyond what the trainer can do in a normal situation.
Well, number one, if your shoulder is sore, that's a major red flag. And you need, number one, you question whether you had some flaws in the delivery or maybe you've been overused, or maybe the combination of the two. With the sore shoulder, I truly recommend that you now stop pitching and really go see someone to take a look at your shoulder. The hardest thing to really decipher is between injury and soreness and discomfort. If you're concerned about injury, you need to go see a doctor and make sure that you get an assessment of the shoulder. It's critical that you shut down exercises and you shut down throwing at this time. If you realize that it's just simply sore, then you continue on with your program and monitor this and get enough rest until the soreness goes away.
So Rick, back to something aligned with the topic or the conversation topic. One of the members of the audience said, "Can a batter's stance tip the pitcher off if he is a high or a low ball hitter?"
The stance is not going to tip that off whatsoever. It's going to be his swing plane and how he swings. So you take a big uppercutter, typically those guys are more low ball hitters. But this whole notion when people talk about hitting and they say he's got a level swing, nobody has it. Nobody that hits at the high levels has a level swing. It just doesn't happen. You take a look at their swing, and their swing plane is somewhat, I wouldn't call it an uppercut, but it's a swing that actually, it really starts up. And the whole science behind hitting is training a hitter to get a swing that covers where most pitchers actually try to locate, which is down and away and up and in. That's why Derek Jeter is a classic example of a guy who handles up and in, and he doesn't handle truly down and away, but he handles thigh level down and away. And he has that type of swing. That's why he gets so many, what they call Texas leaguers or flares, out to right field. But when you take a look at hitters that are high ball hitters or low ball hitters, most hitters are more high ball hitters than they are low ball hitters, because the whole notion of teaching hitting is stay inside the ball, stay inside the ball, stay inside the ball. Stay inside the ball means that you cover up and in and down and away. Most hitters cannot handle, guys who have great stay inside the ball swings cannot handle down and in because they don't have that swing. Adrian Gonzalez is a prime example. Here's a guy, when you look at his stance, you look at his setup, and you look at where he is on the plate as far as in the batter's box, and you're saying to yourself, geez, down and in, he's going to kill this. He's going to crush this pitch. Adrian Gonzalez cannot hit down and in. His swing plane doesn't dictate that. So if you elevate a pitch to a guy like Adrian Gonzalez, and he's more of a low ball hitter down and away, and he's a high ball hitter up and in, the pitch up and away he really struggles with. So the more the uppercut, Prince Fielder is a great example of a guy who Prince has a big uppercut because he wants to lift everything. He doesn't hit a lot of balls on the ground. He wants to lift everything unless he gets out in front and rolls over, and so he's very vulnerable to the fastball that's basically letter high, chest high. But the issue is that if you get belt high, then you're going to turn around and watch this ball go a long way. And most pitchers, you train pitchers to really pound the ball at the bottom of the strike zone than you do at the top, because batting average is at the 220 at 220 batting average at the major league level at the bottom of the strike zone. My guess at the amateur level, it might be 100 or 110 at little league level.
Rick, that's a great vector onto one of the next questions that came in. We spent some time talking about the 1-1 and 1-2 counts, and we have a question just asking you. The question basically asks if you can go back over those statistics one more time because they are so critical. Can you do that?
All right. Let me make this very clear. The 1-1 count. If you get to the 1-1 count, this is the most critical count of all. If the 1-1 count is a strike and the batter's still at home plate, the on-base percentage at the major league level is 220. At my guess, at the amateur level, it might be 150, 110, maybe even 100. If the 1-1 pitch is a ball, the on-base percentage goes to 480. It's a 260-point swing. These are 10-year major league averages. So at the amateur level, that 220 goes scaled down to maybe 100. At the 480, it may be scaled all the way to 700 at the Little League level, because Little League pitchers just, the game is they don't throw a lot of strikes if you're not a very good pitcher. So the 1-1 count is absolutely critical. Once you get to a 2-2 count or 2-strike count, every 2-strike count, 0-2, 1-2, 2-2, 3-2, at the major league level is under 200 with the exception of 3-2. It's about 210. And the swing percentage rate, meaning at the 0-2, 1-2, 2-2, 3-2 count, how often do major league hitters swing at that pitch? It's close to 60% in every one of those counts, with the exception of 3-2, it's almost 74%. They're going to swing because they're trying to protect the plate. So even having a conversation with Roy Halladay early in the year, and I asked him personally the question, Roy, Doc, how do you handle the 2-strike count? Because at that point of the season, he had 45% of his total batter's face, 0-2, 1-2, and the at-bat was over, and the batting average, 45% of his total batter's face, 0-2, 1-2. You're talking about pitching to counts of your advantage, and the batting average against him was .80, 080. So you're talking about like domination once he gets ahead of the count. And he said, I just expand the zone just slightly below the zone, slightly out of the zone. So it's critical to understand the pitching plan is to have the at-bat over in 3 pitches or less. The batter put the ball in play, or we're at a 2-strike count because at the 1-1 count we threw a strike, and we're now at a 2-strike count advantage.
Okay. So the next question we have from the audience. So what pitches do you recommend for a 12-year-old little leaguer besides fastball changeup? I think I know the answer to this one. We get this almost every time we do a session, folks. But Rick, I'll let you provide. So
the question is, what do I recommend other than fastball changeup?
Yeah.
I would say hit the books. Throw your fastball changeup, and if not, go hit the books if you want to pitch late in your pitching career. And you want to continue on and be a dominant pitcher into high school, I would really eliminate as many breaking balls as possible. And every time you think about throwing a breaking ball at that time, I would say hit the books.
Yeah, folks, this question comes up almost everywhere we go. Anytime we talk about this, we're all about healthy pitching. Our campaign is everything about keeping athletes healthy longer. And we just have a difficult time believing that a youth leaguer, a 12-year-old in particular, has the right training and the right technique to be able to throw a curveball effectively. So we are big believers in fastball changeup.
Right, and let me also say this, Scott, and let me add, this is not about our topic tonight, but Dr. Andrews, I've spent since 1989 with Dr. Andrews very closely about, number one, healthy pitching, great deliveries, and optimizing pitching performance, because pitchers are healthy and they can execute pitches, multiple styles of pitching, or styles of pitches. And Dr. Andrews will say the seeds of injury, he publicly has said this, the seeds of arm injuries are planted between the 9 and 12-year-old ages at the adolescent years. So what you're doing from 9 to 12 into 13, 14, those are the seeds that you're planting for potential injuries. So I would plant seeds of fastball changeup, long-distance throwing, a biomechanical analysis to make sure that your delivery is flawless, and making sure that your long-distance throwing program is pristine so that you can maximize velocity.
So, guys, folks, we've got a couple more minutes after the next two questions. I see more coming in, so if you want to ask them, this is the time. But, Rick, the next question we have on the list here is, which pitch is better, is a better pitch for the timing of a high leg kick hitter? And then the gentleman or the person who asked the question that gives you two options, a hard slider or a 12-6 curve.
With the high leg kick?
Mm-hmm, the high leg kick. So let me repeat it so just so everyone hears. So which pitch is better for throwing off the timing of a high leg kick hitter, a hard slider or a 12-6 curve?
Well, it's not a 12-6 curve or a hard slider. Which one is better? They're both best, depending on how you got to that pitch and how you set that pitch up. So let me give you an example. So let's say you get into the count with a fastball down and in, and he takes it for strike one. And now you go with something off speed away. So now you've gone in and out, and you've gone back and forth. You've covered two of the variables. And now you elevate a fastball up and in, and he doesn't swing, but he starts to swing. He's in a swing mode, and you recognize that he was going to swing at that pitch. Now, either one of the slider or the curveball, and I would say this, whichever pitch has your greatest depth, meaning which pitch has the greatest vertical movement. Some sliders are flat. If it's a flat slider, that's not a good selection. If it's a slider with a lot of depth or a curveball with a lot of depth, either one of those are great. If you remember that, if anybody who watched the Yankee-Red Sox game last night, if you remember, Beckett, I believe, struck out Granderson with a back foot curveball. He didn't choose a slider cutter. He threw the back foot curveball down and in on his back foot, and Granderson was way out in front, but he had him set up perfectly for that pitch. So so if you throw a fastball up and in, and then you follow that with something that has a lot of depth down and in, either one of those pitches are great. Slower the better.
Okay, so we have a couple more left. I'm going to wrap it up on these. Rick, switching gears just slightly, one of the members of the audience asked about off-season strength building. So asking you specifically if there's anything you recommend in terms of off-season strength building methods or programs, obviously beyond our own, that you would recommend for pitchers.
Well, I recommend the program that we have with 3P Sports for the off-season. It allows you to generate and maximize power meaning speed plus strength, and our conditioning program has been designed by Jeff Mangold, who was the conditioning coach for the Yankees for 14 years, designed conditioning programs for the likes of Mariano Rivera, Andy Pettit, Mike Mussina, Roger Clemens. I can go on and on. I mean, he was there for 14 years during their heyday with all those World Series wins. And actually on our 3P site, we have a couple videotapes of Jeff Mangold working with Mariano Rivera on his conditioning program. So the conditioning program that we have is specifically designed not to have you be a bodybuilder and just get strong. It's about exercises that will help you optimize the muscles and the flexibility and the power to make sure that you can master your delivery at a higher level. And what we've experienced over the years, that after a pitcher has had an analysis and we look at all the measurements in his delivery, and if he has some yellow flags and red flags, some potential flaws or some flaws, and then he stops pitching and does the conditioning program, and then comes back to his delivery and has an analysis of his delivery, many of these corrections are now in the green zone. They're all corrected, mainly because the body can handle what it takes to master your pitching delivery. It's not just about coaching a delivery, but it's about having your body being able to have the flexibility and the power, strength, and speed to maximize your delivery.
Okay, so folks, we're going to do one more question. I'm going to wrap it up on this one. So at the high school level, Rick, what do you recommend as a put-away pitch, and what are your suggestions in terms of where you feel the pitcher should locate it?
Number one, there's not a suggestion for a put-away pitch. There's a suggestion for put-away sequences, and you have to take a look at your strength, as we talked about earlier. So, for example, let's take a right-hand pitcher to a right-hand hitter, and you get to an 0-2 count. Now you have a put-away sequence. It's a two-pitch put-away sequence. If you're at a 1-2 count, it's a one-pitch put-away sequence. So, for example, a put-away, here's a couple sequences. A fastball up and in for a ball, an off-speed pitch down and away for a strike. An off-speed pitch down and away off the plate, and a fastball in for a strike. A fastball in off the plate, a fastball in for a strike. A breaking ball, off-speed pitch off the plate or below the zone down and away, and an off-speed pitch down and away for a strike. So there's multiple ways that you can do this, and you have to have several ways to do this, because the higher the level that you pitch, you can never continue to put away a hitter the same way every time you face him. So when you take a look at great pitching in the big leagues and good pitching in the big leagues, it's about flipping that lineup over a minimum of 3 times. So you look at like Cliff Lee last night, who had an unbelievable game, pitched 8 2/3 innings, but he's got to go to the middle of that lineup 4 times if you pitch a complete game. So you have to have multiple ways in the middle of the lineup, which is your best hitters, your 2, 3, 4, 5 hitters, that if you get ahead of the count 0-2, 1-2, you have to have multiple ways of how you can put that hitter away, not just one pitch one way, because they can make an adjustment to that. So you have to be able to locate your fastball to both sides of the plate, up and down to both sides of the plate, and be able to locate your off-speed pitches below the zone, off the plate, and in the zone.
Excellent. All right, folks, I want to thank you all for joining us this evening. I think there's a ton of great content covered here. Tomorrow at some point you'll all get an email from us that will give you the URL for this recording for this webinar. And the reason I say that is because there's so much technical baseball detail that we covered tonight that I think many of you, if not all of you, and as well as your friends and your baseball colleagues, may want to listen to it as well. And of course, it'll be available to anybody on our site who wants to see it. We will take a month off. We're probably going to take September off is our plan right now, and we'll be back with more of these programs starting in October, and hopefully we'll see you all on the other side of the season. Thanks again. Have a good evening. Good night.